After a disappointing loss to the Cowboys, it was time to look at who was retiring, and a lot of well-known players were hanging it up this season, again, like Christian Wilkins, DJ Moore, Chris Godwin, TJ Watt, Fred Warner, Derwin James, Myles Garrett, and a lot more. We had 2 blockbuster trades after an underwhelming season. Now that the Seahawks were invested in me, they'd asked me who I'd like to target at receiver, and we traded JSN for my old teammate Amari, and then we traded an aging DK Metcalf for Eric Love, one of my former teammates with Dallas. In the draft, the Niners took Bubba Miller with the first overall pick, getting stronger at defensive end, so that was going to be a problem for us in the division. And then Cameron Wilson ended up getting superstar X Factor and had a 10-sack season in his previous year with the Vikings. After going defense heavy in the previous draft, we drafted Madison Thompson at left tackle to help me out, and Tevin Warner, a wide receiver out of Texas. Overall, we had a really solid draft. Madison Thompson looked like he'd be a great player, and Tevin Warner was a 6'5" physical wide receiver, so he was pretty fast. He could be a good replacement for Eric Love if he got injured. And then Bubba Miller was also a 75 overall defensive end who looked like a well-rounded defensive end. And it's almost like we drafted Madison Thompson in response to the Niners taking Bubba Miller. We went to practice to begin the season at VMAC, just really working on a lot of different concepts, doing some play action, trying to get some passes off to Trevor Knott, and a lot of corner routes. Admittedly, corner routes are just really effective. And again, having success using that play action, Ken Walker hopefully will have a good season this year and stay healthy. And then after the game, I had a really difficult talk with our assistant coach who has a horrible neck disease where his neck is just hanging outside of his body. I had a great week 1 in the season with 4 touchdowns to 0 picks. And we were going into week 2 playing against the Falcons. And personally, I had grown a lot on and off the field in these short 5 years of my NFL career so far. I always felt like a leader with the Cowboys, but until I performed to a certain level, I wasn't able to command the respect required to lead a franchise like I did my last year with Dallas. I knew coming back to Seattle was the right decision for me, but what I didn't realize was just how long it would take to recapture the way that I played my last year with the Cowboys. A lot of the time we think of quarterbacks being either good or bad because of their personal play, but we don't often take into account who they played with or who coached them. So while JSN and DK were great receivers, Amari and Eric Love might be a better fit for me. After scoring a touchdown on a pass to Eric Love, I found Huggins Bruce on a comeback route where he got face masked to the ground, and even with good field position after this, we ended up with 0 points on the drive. To start the 4th, we were hanging on to a 1-point lead, and my stats were awful after my awesome first week. I had below a 50% completion rate, less than 100 yards passing, and an interception. Maybe there was a little bit of chemistry that we still needed to work on. Eric Love caught my touchdown ball to give us a lead again, but then the Falcons answered back, making it 17-17, giving us 2 minutes left to try and win this game. Ken Walker had the ball bounce off his back on a screen pass, somehow turned around, caught the ball, and got enough for the first down. And then later in the drive, I roll out to my right and found Eric Love for a 3rd touchdown pass to regain the lead. And with under a minute remaining, we ended up missing the PAT, and the Falcons answered, scored a touchdown, and took a 1-point lead, leaving us very little time to try to answer back. But with 20 seconds remaining, I looked for Eric Love on 4 verticals. He ended up beating his man off of the bump, and then I threw the ball, but it was underthrown just slightly enough for the defender to make a play on it. The safety came over and helped, forced the incompletion, and then I forced a ball later on the drive over the middle, and the deep safety intercepted it, ultimately causing us to lose the game. But really, we should have hit that PAT to begin with, making us not have to force the ball down the field. I didn't have a great game, ultimately with 3 touchdown passes, all going to Eric Love, along with 2 picks, and Josh Bishop only having 1 touchdown pass, 0 interceptions. Moving forward to week 5 of the season, we had a rematch in Lumen against the Bucs and Justin Jupin, who no doubt wanted revenge after I beat him in the wild card the year I won the Super Bowl with the Cowboys. We tried getting the run going early, and Walker got 7 yards on his first carry, but we got stuffed on 3rd down, and I audibled to a throw on 4th and picked it up with Eric Love bodying his defender. I tried throwing a bullet up high to my backup tight end Chamberlain, but he couldn't pull it in, and we settled for a field goal. My O-line was doing a great job slowing down the Bucs pass rushers enough for me to run to the sideline and throw a deep ball to Trevor Knott for a 40-yard pass. And then later on 1st and goal, we used play action to spring Trevor Knott open on a crossing route for the score, and I was starting to develop a lot of chemistry with our tight end Knott, which was good for the offense because it seemed like every successful offense that I'd been a part of included a productive year for my tight end on the team. By the 4th quarter, it had gotten dark outside, and the Buccaneers had tied the game up, but I saw the press man coverage on the outside against Amari, who I'd always trusted at Louisville to beat the press on 9 routes, and he did just that. I hit him about 40 yards deep, and he did the rest of the work to get us the lead. It was great having Amari back on the team, not just because he was a great player, but also because he was like a little brother to me. Playing with your friends on the team always makes things so much better. Not to be outdone though, Joe Baldwin was the unsung best receiver on this team through 5 weeks, and he got himself open against man for a big gain. Baldwin had a very similar playstyle to JSN, who was previous on the team. He was a top tier route runner who could get open against anyone, but he wasn't going to burn outrun every DB down the field. With a 7-point lead on 3rd and 1, we let Kenneth Walker run it in for the touchdown to take a 31-17 lead, which essentially iced the game. Statistically, I had a solid game, 3 touchdowns to 0 picks. Ken Walker had a tough time running the ball, but Amari Huggins-Bruce with 5 catches for 130 yards and a touchdown. Trevor Knott also getting that 1 score on our drive in the 3rd quarter, and Justin Jupin just sending us a text message after the game, letting us know we played well and that he needs to get his revenge, but that's never going to happen. And going into week 8, we had one of the best offenses in the league. We got a chance to rematch against Max Miller and the Giants, finally after losing that playoff game with the Cowboys. Amari got injured early in the game, and we just hoped to have him back at some point in this game because we were going to need him. And then on the very next play, to add insult to injury, not only did I not pick up the first down on 3rd and 8, but Joe Baldwin also got injured, and he went to the sidelines, throwing his helmet to the ground. There was a developing narrative, though, that we had one of the best offenses in the league, but the worst defense. We had a 500 record at this point this season, and we were far from guaranteed a playoff spot, with the Rams and Niners both getting better. D. Wiggins and the Cardinals still sucked, though. Max Miller was having an MVP caliber season through 5 weeks, and this would be a great test for us considering the NFC East was essentially the gatekeeper of the NFC's bid in the Super Bowl for the last 3 or so years, with the Giants or Cowboys making it. It was starting to look like in this game, though, that we were not going to be getting our revenge because every single time we took 1 step forward, we took 2 steps back, and we had a fumble in the 3rd quarter. The Giants took advantage of the turnover, scored another touchdown, and we were down 21-0. But I was not going to go out without a fight. I was 13 of 15 passing with 0 touchdowns to 0 picks, and I scrambled later in the same drive on 2nd and 19 to pick up a first down and just prayed I wouldn't fumble after getting contact. Again, with an opportunity to score on the line, I hit my receiver in stride on the outside, but just overthrew the ball out of the back of the end zone, making it 4th and 11. We missed another field goal and was 24-0. And to add even more insult to injury, a safety jumped the crossing route, intercepted the ball, and that would end it for us. With 2 minutes remaining, we were held scoreless in this game, the only game in my career that I recall not getting a single point on the board. And that was in part due to Amari Huggins-Bruce getting injured early in the game, along with Joe Baldwin, and I finished with 0 touchdowns to 1 pick. The Giants had a good day running the ball, and yeah, we struggled running the ball with Kenneth Walker getting 4 carries for 8 yards. We were down most of the game, so we didn't have a chance to establish the run all that much, but I also didn't run the ball all that much myself, and our receiver depth was obviously really weak this game. Moving forward, surprise, surprise, we ended up not making the playoffs because our defense really struggled, and we offensively were actually 3rd in the league across the board in almost every statistical category. I had 33 touchdown passes to 6 picks. Ken Walker finished with 1,400 rushing yards and 15 TDs, having probably one of his better seasons with me on the team. And then receiving-wise, we had 2 receivers hit over 1,000 receiving yards. Trevor Knott had a good season, and I got another upgrade, getting me up to a 94 overall without boosts. But it's insane to me that we would not make the playoffs considering how well the offense did. But you can look at the MVP charts, and Bryce Young won MVP, Fafita finished 3rd, and Max Miller finished 5th. And then the Giants made the Super Bowl again, but they ended up losing to the Bills. And so the Bills have won back-to-back Super Bowls,